It was close to midnight. The streets of Los Angeles were unusually quiet, washed in the orange glow of half-dead streetlights. Most people were asleep, but one man was still on the road, Keanu Reeves, driving home after a long evening shoot. His old, modest motorcycle hummed through the silence, a familiar companion to his solitude. As he passed through a dimly lit intersection, something caught his eye. A beat-up sedan parked awkwardly near a gas station, its windows fogged up from the inside. At first, he thought it was just another car waiting for someone, but then he noticed movement, a small, trembling hand brushing against the glass and the faint sound of a baby crying. Keanu slowed down. He looked closer. Inside sat a young woman, barely in her 30s, wrapped in an old sweater. She held a baby against her chest, trying desperately to soothe it. The back seat was piled with bags, blankets, and empty bottles, signs that this car wasn't just a vehicle. It was their home. For a moment, Keanu just watched. His breath fogged his visor as he stood still under the cold night air. The woman looked exhausted, her eyes red, her lips pale from hunger or worry. Maybe both. He hesitated. People often said to mind your own business in this city, but his heart wouldn't let him.
He turned off the engine, took a deep breath, and slowly walked toward the car. The woman stiffened the second she saw him approach.
Her grip on the baby tightened. Fear flickered across her face, and another stranger, another risk. Keanu raised his hand slightly, his voice calm and gentle. "Hey, I'm sorry if I startled you. I just wanted to make sure you're okay." The woman said nothing at first. Her eyes darted from him to the street, maybe expecting trouble. It's late," he continued softly. "Your baby sounds cold." After a few seconds, she lowered the window just a crack. Her voice was tired but steady. "We're fine, please. Just leave us alone." Keanu nodded, respecting the boundary, but he couldn't walk away. He looked at the sleeping baby, its tiny hands wrapped around her sweater, and something inside him broke a little. He gently asked, "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" She shook her head. "No, it's just temporary. Until I find work." Keanu paused, searching her eyes. There was no sign of deceit, only pure exhaustion. He wanted to help but didn't want to make her uncomfortable. Then he quietly said, "I'll be right back." She frowned, confused, watching him leave. As Keanu disappeared into the shadows of the street, the woman exhaled shakily, not knowing that this small encounter, this ordinary night, was about to change her life forever. What Keanu did next would leave everyone speechless. It was close to midnight. The streets of Los Angeles were unusually quiet, washed in the orange glow of half-dead streetlights. Most people were asleep, but one man was still on the road, Keanu Reeves, driving home after a long evening shoot. His old, modest motorcycle hummed through the silence, a familiar companion to his solitude. As he passed through a dimly lit intersection, something caught his eye. A beat-up sedan parked awkwardly near a gas station, its windows fogged up from the inside. At first, he thought it was just another car waiting for someone, but then he noticed movement, a small trembling hand brushing against the glass and the faint sound of a baby crying. Keanu slowed down. He looked closer. Inside sat a young woman, barely in her 30s, wrapped in an old sweater. She held a baby against her chest, trying desperately to soothe it. The back seat was piled with bags, blankets, and empty bottles, signs that this car wasn't just a vehicle. It was their home. For a moment, Keanu just watched. His breath fogged his visor as he stood still under the cold night air. The woman looked exhausted, her eyes red, her lips pale from hunger or worry, maybe both. He hesitated. People often said to mind your own business in this city, but his heart wouldn't let him. He turned off the engine, took a deep breath, and slowly walked toward the car. The woman stiffened the second she saw him approach. Her grip on the baby tightened. Fear flickered across her face. Another stranger, another risk. Keanu raised his hand slightly, his voice calm and gentle. "Hey, I'm sorry if I startled you. I just wanted to make sure you're okay." The woman said nothing at first. Her eyes darted from him to the street, maybe expecting trouble. It's late," he continued softly. "Your baby sounds cold." After a few seconds, she lowered the window just a crack. Her voice was tired but steady. "We're fine, please. Just leave us alone." Keanu nodded, respecting the boundary, but he couldn't walk away. He looked at the sleeping baby, its tiny hands wrapped around her sweater, and something inside him broke a little. He gently asked, "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" She shook her head. "No, it's just temporary, until I find work." Keanu paused, searching her eyes. There was no sign of deceit, only pure exhaustion. He wanted to help, but didn't want to make her uncomfortable. Then he quietly said, "I'll be right back." She frowned, confused, watching him leave. As Keanu disappeared into the shadows of the street, the woman exhaled shakily, not knowing that this small encounter, this ordinary night, was about to change her life forever. What Keanu did next would leave everyone speechless. A few minutes later, the sound of quiet footsteps echoed in the empty lot. The woman's heart skipped and he had come back, but this time Keanu wasn't empty-handed. He carried a paper bag filled with food from the gas station, 2 bottles of water, and a soft baby blanket he'd bought from the nearby store. He approached slowly, careful not to startle her again. "Hey," he said softly, placing the bag near the car door. "I brought a few things. You don't have to take them if you don't want to." "But the baby looks cold." The woman's eyes flickered with hesitation. Her pride battled her desperation. Finally, she unlocked the door and cracked it open. "You didn't have to do that," she murmured, voice trembling. Keanu smiled faintly. "I know, but I wanted to." She looked down at the baby, a tiny face peeking from under a thin scarf. The baby's cheeks were red, its breathing uneven. The sight made Keanu's chest tighten. He crouched a little, keeping his tone gentle. "How long have you been staying out here?" The woman hesitated, then sighed. "A few weeks. I lost my job at a diner when it closed. I thought I'd find something soon, but..." Her voice cracked. "Everything's expensive. No one wants to hire a single mom with a baby." Keanu listened without interrupting, his eyes soft and attentive. "I've tried staying at shelters," she continued, "but they're full, so I park here at night, safer than the streets." She looked away, ashamed. There was a long silence. The night air bit at their skin, but neither moved. Finally, Keanu said quietly, "You're doing your best." "That's what matters." Her eyes welled up, but she quickly wiped them. "People don't usually stop to say that." He nodded. "Maybe they should." For a brief moment, there was warmth, not from the blanket or the soup, but from simple humanity. A car passed slowly, its headlights illuminating Keanu's face. Someone inside gasped softly. They recognized him. A couple across the street began whispering. Phones started coming out, their cameras subtly raised. The woman noticed and frowned. Why are they staring? Keanu smiled awkwardly, brushing it off. "Don't worry about it. Just eat something." She studied him for a moment, realization dawning. "Wait, you're not..." Before she could finish, he gently interrupted. "Doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that you're not alone tonight." She looked at him, really looked, and saw the sincerity in his eyes. No pity, no judgment, just kindness. The baby stirred, letting out a small cry. Keanu reached into the bag and handed her the new blanket. "Here, it's warm." "I made sure of that." The woman's lips quivered as she accepted it. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." Keanu simply nodded, his eyes soft under the streetlight. "Everyone needs a hand sometimes. It doesn't make you weak." The night around them seemed to quiet down, as if even the city paused to listen. Have you ever met someone who helped you when you least expected it? Share your story below. And tell us where you're watching this story from. For a few minutes, silence wrapped the car. Only the sound of the baby's soft breathing and the distant hum of traffic filled the night. Keanu stood quietly beside the car, hands in his jacket pockets, not wanting to intrude. But the thought of leaving her there, a mother and her child in the cold, gnawed at him. He finally said, almost to himself, "You shouldn't have to live like this." The woman gave a weak smile. "A lot of people shouldn't, but life doesn't always listen." Her words lingered in the air. Keanu nodded slowly, as if he knew that pain too well. The feeling of loss, of trying to stay strong when the world seems too heavy. After a long pause, he said softly, "Wait here. I'll be right back." This time she didn't protest. She watched him walk down the street again, his tall figure fading into the glow of the gas station lights. 10 minutes passed, then 15. The woman began to think he wasn't coming back. But then, There he was again, carrying more bags in his hands. A blanket, groceries, a thermos of hot soup, diapers, even a small stuffed toy for the baby. She gasped. "You shouldn't have," Keanu interrupted gently. "It's okay. It's nothing, really." He set the bags down on the hood of the car, then crouched beside her window again. "The soup's still hot. Please eat something. You need it more than I do." Her hands trembled as she opened the lid. Steam rose into the night air, and for a moment her eyes closed as if the warmth itself was a small miracle. Between shaky breaths, she whispered, "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." Keanu looked at her, really looked. "You remind me of someone I once knew," he said softly. "Someone who fought hard even when life wasn't fair." Her lips parted slightly, but she couldn't find words. He continued, "It takes strength to keep going when you've got nothing left. That strength deserves kindness." Tears filled her eyes. She turned away, embarrassed, wiping them with her sleeve. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm just not used to people being kind anymore." Keanu's voice lowered, calm and grounded. "You don't have to apologize for needing help. We all do sometimes." For a moment, the world around them disappeared. No cameras, no fame, no noise. Just two souls sharing humanity under a flickering streetlight. But reality crept back. A small group of people had gathered across the street. Some recognized Keanu instantly. The man from the movies, the Hollywood star known for his humility. Phones were out now, filming quietly, capturing the scene. The mother noticed and grew anxious. "They're recording." Keanu glanced back and nodded calmly. "Let them," he said softly. "Maybe they'll see what compassion looks like." The baby stirred, letting out a tired whimper. Keanu reached into one of the bags, pulling out the stuffed toy, a small bear with a red ribbon. "For your little one," he said with a faint smile. The woman took it gently, pressing it against her baby's tiny hand. The baby cooed softly, and for the first time that night the woman smiled. A real smile, fragile but full of gratitude. Keanu looked at her one last time and said quietly, "Rest tonight. Tomorrow will look a little brighter." She wanted to say something, anything, but all that came out was a whisper. "Thank you." He nodded once, eyes reflecting the streetlight's glow. Then he turned toward his bike, unaware that what just happened was being filmed, and that the world was about to witness another act of quiet kindness. If you saw someone in this situation, would you stop or walk away? Comment your honest answer. The air was getting colder. The night had that kind of silence that feels heavy, almost too still to breathe. The mother had wrapped her baby in the new blanket, trying to warm it up, but the child's soft coughs kept breaking the calm. Each tiny sound pierced through the night, and through Keanu's heart. He crouched beside the car again, worry etching across his face. "Is your baby sick?" The woman nodded slightly, voice trembling. "Just a cold, I think. He's been coughing since yesterday." Keanu's eyes softened, but his jaw tightened. That quiet kind of concern only people with big hearts carry. "Have you seen a doctor?" She shook her head quickly. "I can't. I don't have insurance. Or money. I'll be fine once I find work. It's just hard right now." Keanu looked at her for a long moment, saying nothing. He could see through the brave smile she was trying to wear. The kind of smile that hides hunger, fear, and exhaustion. Finally, he said gently, "Your baby needs to be seen. It's late, but there's a 24-hour clinic just a few blocks from here. Let me take you." The woman hesitated, clutching her child tighter. "No, please. You've done enough already. I don't want to cause trouble." Keanu smiled faintly. Helping someone isn't trouble. She looked at him, conflicted, torn between pride and desperation. "But I don't even know you." Keanu nodded slowly. "That's okay. You don't need to know me to let me help." For a moment, she said nothing. Then the baby coughed again, harder this time. That was enough. She nodded silently, eyes glistening with fear. "All right," she whispered. "We'll go." Keanu exhaled with quiet relief. He opened the passenger door for her, helping her settle in carefully, making sure the baby was secure. Then he jogged to his own car and started the engine. The drive was silent at first. The woman stared out the window, her fingers brushing the baby's forehead as if to comfort him. Keanu kept his eyes on the road, but his thoughts were far heavier than the traffic lights ahead. He remembered times when kindness had saved him, when strangers had offered help expecting nothing in return. Maybe that's why he couldn't drive past tonight. Maybe it wasn't chance that brought him here. They arrived at the small emergency clinic. The fluorescent lights buzzed as Keanu guided her inside. A nurse at the counter looked up, startled for a second. Recognition flashing across her face. Is that? She began. Keanu placed a finger over his lips. Please. Not tonight, the nurse nodded, immediately understanding. Within minutes, the baby was taken to a small examination room. The doctor, half asleep but kind, began checking the infant while the mother stood nearby, wringing her hands. Keanu stayed by the doorway, quiet, his presence like an anchor in the storm. After what felt like forever, the doctor turned with a small smile. You brought him in just in time. It's nothing serious, mild bronchitis. He'll be fine after some rest and antibiotics. The woman's knees almost gave out from relief. Thank you. Thank you so much, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Keanu smiled softly. See, he's a fighter, just like his mom. When the doctor stepped away to fill out forms, Keanu quietly walked to the counter and handed his credit card to the nurse. Whatever they need, cover it. And don't tell her it's me, he said gently. The nurse nodded again, eyes shining. When the woman turned to thank him, Keanu was already gone, vanished as quietly as he'd appeared. All that remained was the faint smell of rain from his jacket and the echo of his kindness lingering in the sterile clinic air. She looked around in confusion, then down at her baby, now sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. A soft sob escaped her lips as she whispered, "Who are you?" But Keanu was already outside, walking back toward the empty street, hands in his pockets, his face calm and thoughtful beneath the soft glow of the moon. He didn't need thanks. He just needed to know they'd be okay. The first rays of morning sunlight crept through the blinds of a small, quiet motel room. For a few seconds, the woman didn't understand where she was. Her eyes fluttered open, her body stiff from nights spent in the cramped car. Then slowly, reality began to sink in. She wasn't in her car. She was lying on a clean bed, soft, warm sheets covering both her and her baby. The faint hum of an air conditioner filled the room. Her heart raced. She sat up quickly, clutching the baby close. Where am I?" she whispered. On the small wooden table beside her bed lay a folded note and a paper bag. She hesitated, glancing around at no sign of anyone else. Everything was still. The baby stirred softly in her arms, breathing peacefully for the first time in days. She reached for the note with trembling fingers. It was written in simple handwriting. Everyone deserves a safe place to rest. You're stronger than you think. Kay, her lips parted as her eyes filled with tears. She read the words again and again, unable to believe them. The edges of the note trembled in her hands as a sob slipped out. Quiet at first, then louder, rawer. She pressed the note to her chest, whispering to herself. He didn't even want to be thanked. The baby stirred again, stretching a tiny hand toward the sunlight. She smiled through her tears, brushing her child's hair gently. We're safe now, baby. We're safe. After a few minutes, she noticed the paper bag beside the note. Inside were essentials, fresh clothes, baby formula, food, and a few small items she hadn't been able to afford in months. At the bottom was a motel receipt paid for an entire week. Her hand covered her mouth as she exhaled shakily. Oh my God. A soft knock came at the door. Startled, she stood up carefully and opened it. A middle-aged motel worker stood there with a kind smile. Good morning, ma'am. Hope you slept well, she said warmly. The woman nodded slowly, still disoriented. I don't understand. How did we get here? The worker smiled knowingly. A gentleman brought you in last night. Said your car broke down and that you needed a warm place for the baby. He paid for your room and asked us to make sure you got these. She handed over an envelope. Inside was a voucher for groceries and a small card with the address of a nearby community center. The worker continued. He also left your car keys with us. Said he had someone check your car. It's parked safely outside. The woman felt dizzy. He did all that? The worker nodded. He did. And before leaving, he asked me to tell you something if you woke up confused. The woman looked at her expectantly. The worker smiled. He said, tell her this world still has good people in it. Don't stop believing that. Tears filled her eyes again. She pressed the note to her heart, whispering, thank you, whoever you are. The motel worker placed a comforting hand on her shoulder before leaving. The woman sat back down on the bed, holding her baby. The sunlight poured across the room, golden and warm, like a silent blessing. For the first time in weeks, she felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Hope. Later that morning, when she went to the front desk, another surprise awaited her. The manager smiled and handed her a printed email. It was a job interview invitation for a position at a local cafe just 2 blocks away. Her name was on it, along with the note, "You came highly recommended." Her knees nearly gave way. "He did this too," she whispered. She looked down at her baby, a smile trembling on her lips. "We're going to be okay, because someone cared enough to see us." As she stepped outside, the sunlight felt warmer than ever. She glanced at the horizon, where the night had once swallowed her world, and whispered softly, "Thank you, Keanu, wherever you are." By the next morning, the internet was already on fire. A bystander's late-night video, shaky and grainy, filmed from across the street, was now everywhere. It showed Keanu Reeves kneeling beside a car, handing food and blankets to a homeless mother holding her baby. There were no security guards, no cameras, no entourage. Just him, humble, calm, and quietly human. The caption beneath the clip read, "Keanu Reeves helps homeless mom and baby at 2 a.m. No press, no spotlight, pure kindness." Within hours, the video had millions of views. People were sharing it across every platform, adding their own captions. "The world doesn't deserve this man. He didn't do it for fame, he did it because it was right." News channels picked it up by morning. Headlines filled social media feeds. Keanu Reeves spotted helping homeless family in LA. Hollywood's kindest star does it again. But while the world talked endlessly about him, Keanu stayed completely silent. He didn't post a single thing. No statements, no interviews. Instead, he showed up on set that same day, on time as always, wearing the same black jacket and quiet smile. Crew members whispered about the viral video, some even showing it to him shyly on their phones. Keanu simply smiled and said, "Let's focus on work, yeah?" Meanwhile, the young mother, now safe in her motel, began to see messages flood her phone. Someone had recognized her from the video and reached out. She hadn't known anyone was filming that night, and for a moment she panicked. But then she saw the comments, thousands of them, full of empathy, love, and offers to help. People were sending donations to local shelters, asking how they could support single mothers. Strangers were offering her a car seat, baby clothes, even job leads. One message stood out, a simple one from an anonymous account. "You don't owe the world your story. Just keep going. You're doing great." Somehow she knew it was from him. Later that day, a news van parked outside the motel. Reporters wanted an interview. But when she appeared holding her baby, she refused to name Keanu. "He didn't do it for attention," she said softly. "He did it because he cares. That's enough." Her words spread just as quickly as the video. People were moved, not just by Keanu's act, but by her dignity, her grace. Back in Los Angeles, Keanu's team began receiving calls from journalists. Every outlet wanted a quote. Every network wanted to feature the Hollywood angel. But Keanu said no to them all. When a close friend asked him why, he answered quietly, "Because it's not a story about me. It's about her. About anyone who's ever been ignored when they needed help." That line, relayed by the friend in a later interview, went viral again. It reminded people that kindness doesn't need applause. Days later, when a reporter finally caught up to Keanu at a film premiere and asked him directly about the viral video, he stopped for a moment. Cameras flashed, microphones leaned in. He looked up, his expression calm and sincere. "Kindness," he said softly, "isn't charity. It's humanity. We're all just trying to make it through life. Some of us need a hand once in a while." The crowd went silent. For a moment, even the reporters forgot their questions. That night, the clip of his brief response was replayed across the world. Millions of people commented, some saying his words made them cry, others sharing stories of how they'd helped someone that day. The young mother watched from her motel room, her baby asleep beside her. As she saw Keanu on the screen, she smiled faintly. "He'll never take credit," she whispered. "But maybe that's why his kindness matters so much." Outside, city lights shimmered like stars scattered across concrete. Somewhere in that same city, Keanu was likely on his motorcycle again. Quiet, unbothered, content to disappear back into the ordinary night. He never looked for recognition. But somehow kindness always found him, and through him it found the world. What do you think makes Keanu Reeves different from most celebrities? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. It had been a week since the video went viral, and still, the world couldn't stop talking about it. Talk shows discussed it, news anchors praised it, even schools began sharing the clip to teach kindness. But for Keanu Reeves, life went on quietly. He continued filming, riding his bike to set, greeting every crew member with a smile. He didn't mention the video, not once, but everyone around him felt something had changed. There was a new kind of silence in his presence, not heavy but meaningful. Then one night he received an invitation to speak at a charity event for children who'd lost their parents. Keanu usually avoided the spotlight, but this one felt different. He arrived without an entourage, dressed simply in a black suit. When the host handed him the mic, he paused. The crowd instantly quieted. Cameras rolled. Lights softened. He began slowly, his voice calm but weighted with truth. "I've been asked to talk about kindness," he said. "But I don't think kindness is something you talk about. It's something you do, even when nobody's watching." The audience leaned in. He continued, his tone steady, every word deliberate. "A week ago, a moment from my life was filmed. Something I didn't plan to share, and suddenly it became a story about me. But it was never supposed to be about me." He looked down for a moment, then back up, his eyes glistening slightly under the stage lights. It was about a mother, doing her best for her child. It was about how easy it is to walk past someone's pain, and how powerful it is when you don't. The hall was silent. Even the cameramen seemed frozen, moved by his humility. Keanu took a deep breath and went on. "I've lived long enough to know that pain doesn't choose people. It doesn't care if you're rich, famous, or unknown. It visits all of us. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can keep someone alive one more day." Someone in the crowd began to cry quietly. "You don't have to be a celebrity to change a life," he said softly. "You just have to care. Smile at someone who feels invisible. Listen when someone's breaking. Share what you can, even if it's just your time." He paused again, searching for word. Not rehearsed, but real. Because at the end of everything, the fame, the money, the headlines, all that matters is how you made people feel. That's the only thing that lasts. A long silence filled the room. Then one by one people began to stand. The applause started softly, then grew until the entire hall was on its feet. Tears. Claps. No music. No drama. Just pure emotion. That moment, the video of Keanu's short speech, spread across the world faster than any movie trailer. The clip was only 2 minutes long, but it touched something deep inside millions of people. People began calling it the speech that healed the internet. Hashtags like "Now be kind like Keanu" and "How human first" trended for days. Teachers replayed his words in classrooms. Strangers began paying for others' meals. Even fans in faraway countries started small kindness campaigns in his name. And through it all, Keanu never once mentioned himself. When a reporter later asked him how it felt to inspire a movement, he smiled faintly and said, "I didn't inspire anything. People just remembered what they already had inside them." Meanwhile, the young mother from that night was rebuilding her life. The kindness she received gave her a new start, a job, a home, and hope. One evening, she wrote an anonymous letter to be sent to Keanu's team. It read, "You didn't just feed us that night. You gave me something I hadn't felt in years, dignity. You reminded me that kindness still exists in this world. Thank you, not for saving me, but for seeing me." Keanu never spoke publicly about the letter, but those close to him noticed he kept a small folded paper in his wallet from that week onward. Maybe it was that letter. Maybe not. But those who knew him never asked. Because Keanu Reeves didn't need proof of what he did. He didn't need validation, applause, or attention. He just needed to know that the kindness he gave had kept someone's light from going out. And in a world full of noise, arrogance, and endless self-promotion, his silence spoke louder than every speech combined. What if the world had more people like Keanu Reeves? Would it be a kinder place? Share your thoughts in the comments.